All right, the court is going to sentence you to 8 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, and there's to be Chapter 62 registration. You, Mr. Cabrera?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense? Any objections?
No, Judge.
Hold up, right out of the gate the judge drops an 8-year sentence. No build-up, no suspense, just impact. This tells you something critical. The court has already weighed the evidence heavily, likely through a PSI report. But here's the real question: was there ever a real chance for probation? Or was this outcome inevitable from the start?
All right, state, do you have any witnesses?
State has no witnesses.
Defense?
Yes, Judge.
Any witnesses?
You do.
All right, call your first witness.
Laura Garcia.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record, please.
Laura Garcia.
All right, you may proceed.
Ms. Garcia, tell the judge what you know. Rocio,
Rocio is my son.
you know that he has applied for probation. It's close to that application, and you're here to ask the judge to grant that probation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what would you like her to know about his Rocio?
That he stands that he did wrong and that he's willing to get the help he needs and take whatever proceedings the judge asks of him.
All right, I'm sorry. If we could go off the record for a moment. So when I'm reviewing the TAP evaluation and the pre-sentence investigation report, it has attached to it as a plea bargain agreement a cap of 5 years. I don't think that belongs with this.
No, Judge.
No, Judge, that's not it.
So with regards to the plea bargain page that's attached to the pre-sentence investigation report, do both parties agree that that is incorrect?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so according to the plea bargaining agreement, in this case, what the court has is you all have agreed to a cap of 10 in the prison. There's a $5,000 fine. The state is opposed to the application for deferred adjudication. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, I'm sorry for interrupting. You may proceed, counsel.
How do you think this happened, Mr. Rocio?
He just happens to do wrong, and the best thing I can say is that he was on the wrong side at the wrong time, and I guess he just caught up to him.
When we spoke beforehand, you had said something about you believe that curiosity was involved.
Yes,
And you think that got the better of him at that time?
yes, he was.
And are you willing to support him, help him in any way you can if the judge would grant him probation?
Yes, sir.
Ambrosio did have a job when he was arrested, is that right?
Yes,
And he had that job, I think, either right before or right after graduating high school, is that right?
yes,
And of course, he lost that employment as part of his, after he got arrested.
yes.
Are you concerned about, if the judge is granted probation, are you concerned about him being able to get a job and pay this $5,000 fine that they're asking for?
Money-wise, yes. The job, I know he could do the job.
I don't have any other questions. I don't know who's from.
All right, any questions?
Just very briefly. And it's Ms. Garcia.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Do you understand the charges that your son has pled to?
Yes,
You understand this wasn't just one image or just accessing a website. This was him actually possessing multiple images of child pornography. Do you understand that?
yes.
Do you think it's important that he takes full accountability and doesn't diminish what he did?
This is where the tone of the entire case shifts. What started sounding like a young man made a mistake narrative suddenly becomes much darker. Multiple illegal images. That's not a minor lapse, that's a pattern, and legally this matters a lot because possession alone without direct contact can still carry serious prison time. So now ask yourself, should intent matter more or impact?
Yes.
That's the next question.
Any further judges?
All right, thank you so much for coming in and giving me some insight into. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses, counsel?
Mr. Cabrera.
Sir? Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Ambrosio Cabrera.
All right, defense, you may proceed.
But Rocio, you graduated high school, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And where did you used to work?
Right before my arrest, I worked at a place called Foundation Repair,
And what
but I
kind-
had some other jobs before that.
And had you ever had trouble finding a job before that?
There have been instances, but I got a job at the end of it.
I think in the PSI there was a reference to the officer who did your interview asking why you hadn't sought any kind of treatment. And you and I talked about that. What would you like the judge to know about why that hadn't commenced, or why you hadn't do that?
Judge, when probation officer asked me why I hadn't received treatment, I told him that treatment, psychiatric help costs money, and ashamed as I am, I was afraid to even leave my house to go to the front yard to even pick up the trash. And
Why? We'll tell the judge why you thought that was.
I was ashamed, ashamed for my actions, and my neighbors, they saw everything. They saw that my house was, I had a search warrant for my house, and I was ashamed to have my neighbors see me. But regarding not even payment costs money, and it's even harder for me to even ask for a job.
But you know they're gonna see your background. Is that what you know?
That they would see my background from the background check, that afraid for my safety, that perhaps coworkers might find out about my charges. And I would say that if I wish that I had hope that I can have counseling to ask about things regarding getting a job. Yeah.
And you agree that you could have some counseling?
Yes.
Now you never had an inappropriate relationship, did you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you just possessed images,
Yes, sir.
and have you had an adult relationship?
Yes, sir. That's sir.
Is that still ongoing, or
No, sir.
right now? You're willing to abide by anything the judge would require of you if she were to grant you probation?
Yes.
And you understand that you would have to register annually?
Yes, sir.
And do you have anything else that you'd like the judge to know before she decides what to do?
Judge, I'm so sorry. I wish that I could change my time. I'm ready to accept the consequences.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, any questions?
Judge. Mr. Cabrera, do you understand that the children in these videos are victims who are being sexually abused when the content is made?
Yes.
Do you understand that every time you view, download, or share those videos, that child is being re-victimized?
Good, Judge. There's no evidence of any sharing.
Sister,
Your Honor, this originates from a MIC report where it was uploaded to Snapchat, Your Honor, so.
all right, the objection will be overruled. All right. Any further questions? And how old are you?
22, Your Honor.
All right.
The
All right, any argument?
Judge, Mr. Cabrera is a young man now. He was even younger a couple of years ago when this came to pass. And I think he's a person who, if you've read I know you have read the PSI, he's readily admitted his responsibility, came forth and readily accepted responsibility when he was given that opportunity. He waived indictment. He came to court. He took his pleas. He showed up here today, despite knowing that he might go into custody. I think he is not a hardened criminal. He has zero criminal history other than this one case. And I don't think prison is an appropriate environment for him, and it might be actually a dangerous environment for him. So we would ask the court to consider, based on all the circumstances and the lack of history, that you grant him deferred and give him whatever conditions the court finds appropriate.
State.
Judge, while this defendant may take responsibility to enter a waiver plea on this case, that waiver plea wasn't something that he just entered, letting the court punish him to the maximum with the state charging the most thing. It was a bargain between the state. We waived certain counts, we waived certain enhancements, and he entered into a plea that he thought was in the best interest of him in this case, that we all agreed was a good option. However, that plea is not for him to be agreed on probation. It's an opposed for. Now it's deferred, not probation. I should be clear on that. The content in this, we have videos of children, a video of a child under the age of 10 being sexually abused. We have images of children being sexually abused, as well as images of them nude. These children are actual victims. Just because I don't know them, just because they're not here in this courtroom, they're actual victims. This defendant participated in their victimization by viewing, downloading, etc. this material. It's a serious crime. Just because it's his first crime doesn't mean it's not a serious crime. Just because he's not physically abusing these kids himself doesn't mean he's not victimizing them. So given the severity of the crime, given the severity of the content, and given the danger that it poses to the community, that if he's looking at this material online, what he could do in the future, I would ask the court to follow the agreement. I would ask the court to sentence him to the maximum under the plea agreement of 10 years.
Judge, may I respond briefly?
Yes.
There's no evidence at all that Mr. Cabrera believed that anything other than these children were victims and taking responsibility for that. Everything that the state has pointed out to me is all the more reason why he wants to get the treatment that he provided under supervision of this court. And as you know, under supervision of this court, he would not be allowed freewheeling on the internet anyway. So we would again ask the court to grant him deferred, give him the treatment that he needs and any other appropriate conditions that be necessary.
All right. So I've heard the argument of your counsel, listened to witnesses, and I take everything under advisement. I'm taking your age under advisement. What the court is going to do, the court will find you guilty. The state is asking for 10 years. Counsel, do you want to address that?
Probation, I would certainly ask for something closer to the minimum. Given the absence of any other previous problems and not trying to discount anything, I still think that 10 years is more than necessary.
All right, and state, I know you're asking for 10.
Right.
All right, the court is going to sentence you to 8 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, and there's to be Chapter 62 registration. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you review the trial court certification of defendant's rights to appeal with your attorney?
Now this is the moment. The judge has heard emotional testimony, legal arguments, and harsh facts. The defense pushes for leniency, the state pushes for maximum punishment, and here's the twist: judges aren't bound to either side. They balance everything: age, remorse, severity, risk to society. So what would you do here? Second chance or strict punishment?
I haven't known, but I've always
All right, it's telling you whether or not you have a right to appeal. Because this is a plea bargain agreement, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. And because you've waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what that is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you, okay?